As many of you long-term listeners know, we have the opportunity to speak with a number of well-known personalities on the political scene, such as Pat Buchanan and Ron Paul and Newt Gingrich a few times. But my favorite, and I'm not saying it's Steve because you're on the other end of the line, but I love talking with you because you focus on taxes and not the kind of stuff that Newt Gingrich is focusing on, $2.50 political rhetoric on oil prices. So welcome back to the program, Steve. It's a pleasure.
Good to be with you, Gary. Thank you. Thanks for the kind words.
Well, it's true. I just look at the Republican slate and I scratch my head. Here was an opportunity that apparently is running into some problems because there has been, in my opinion at least, Steve, too much focus on social issues rather than economic issues. What is your read on that comment of mine?
Well, I think none of the candidates yet have been able to combine issues the way Ronald Reagan did. Ronald Reagan was a social conservative, but he also made it very clear the government is not going to have a role in terms of telling you what to do and not to do on things like contraceptives.
Yeah, in the bedroom.
And so he put together a successful coalition. And none of these candidates have been able to do it, which is why some of us keeping our fingers crossed, maybe another candidate will get in.
Last time when you and I spoke on the air, Steve, you had mentioned some names, some of which did evolve and then dissipated, such as Rick Perry, such as Haley Barbour, and even Sarah Palin. And I had asked you at the time, where is Steve Forbes in all this? And I remember your quote, "I am no longer a candidate, I'm an agitator." Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
Now, I want you to take a look at what's going on and say to this audience of mine, are you absolutely not considering a third-party candidacy or even a Republican candidacy?
No, I'm still in the probably even a harder business of trying to educate candidates.
Yeah, Forbes magazine has its own issues to deal with rather than just the other things. I don't mean Forbes in particular. I mean the publishing industry. When you, of course, ran in 1996 and 2000 in the primaries, what got a lot of people's attention was the flat tax. And yet, during this period of time, I hear so little about bringing back the flat tax. 999 was something, but the candidate left a lot to be desired, obviously. Why is that not the focus? I am so concerned about my corporate taxes, my personal taxes, everything. What's going on? Why is it being overlooked?
I think it says something about the shortcomings of the current crop of candidates. One who is advocating a variation of the flat tax is Newt Gingrich, which I'm pleased that he's doing it, but he doesn't stick to it. It comes in and comes out of his rhetoric, and he doesn't stay focused on that message. If he did, I think he would be doing far better than he's doing today. Mitt Romney came out with a plan yesterday, 20% across the board cut in income tax rates. That's fine. I wish he'd gone further, but it's far better than anything coming from the other side. And Santorum has some version of simplification, but not as sweeping as the flat tax.
And certainly they're not focusing on it on the debates.
Exactly.
That's a problem. And so President Obama sits back with a very large coffer of money, which is increasing daily. He raised $3 or $4 million just the other day, and he's letting themselves shoot themselves in the foot. If you were, and perhaps you are, being asked by the Republican Party, what direction would you go and what candidates might emerge that should be solicited at least, are there any names that emerge?
Well, one surprising name, but he had an excellent record as governor, is Jeb Bush. Very much different from his brother in terms of public persona. An excellent record as governor. You hear Mitch Daniels, still very successful governor of Indiana. And you still hear some noise about Paul Ryan. The governor of my state, Governor Christie, has made it very clear that he is not going to do it, so I have reluctantly taking him at his word.
I happen to, you're from Morristown, New Jersey. I happen to be a member of the Morris County Golf Club.
Oh, my goodness. Small world.
I probably have left some balls in your backyard somewhere with my slice. we hear about Newt Gingrich talking about $2.50 gasoline. Politicians can do almost nothing to influence the price of gasoline in the short term. And they talk about offshore drilling in Florida and in the Gulf, et cetera. We are hostages to the Middle East countries, and it's just kind of silly to me as a money manager, quite frankly, to hear that kind of rhetoric. Does that just further hurt the Republican Party in terms of its credibility?
Well, it's legitimate in one sense to talk about the barriers that we've unnecessarily put in the way of production of oil and gas in places like Alaska, where it can be done in an environmentally sound way. The Brits and the Norwegians have demonstrated if you do it right, you can do it offshore. But there's another factor they really haven't connected the dots on, and that is when you have a weak dollar, when you trash your own money, commodity prices go up. We saw this in the 70s where oil went from $3 a barrel to $40. When Ronald Reagan killed the inflation, it went down to $8 or $10, finally stabilized at $20. So a lot of it is when you have cheap money, which the Fed seems to intend on doing by punishing savers, you're going to get these distortions in the marketplace.
When you look at the stock market, speaking of marketplaces, when you look at the stock market at 13,000, and people are saying, you know, I'm making some money now, although the volume on the New York Stock Exchange is relatively low, so investors are not participating. But they're starting to feel better, Steve Forbes, about their own economic situation. Is this also going to hurt the Republican Party going forward? Because people will say, you know, let's give Obama another 4 years to see what happens.
Well, one of the things I'm kind of, well, in one sense, I'm very glad the economy is improving as a business person. So this is personal. But on the political side, I think it underscores that the Republicans cannot count just on discontent to win. They have to put forward a very positive program, stable dollar, simplify the tax code, exciting new ways of dealing with health care instead of the government taking it over. And if they sharpen those messages, then whether the economy grows at 2.2 or 4.2, people are going to say, we're not doing as well as we should, and these are positive policies like Reagan had 30 years ago. Let's try it.
People vote with their pocketbooks. That's an axiom when it comes to politics, and you know that having run for president a couple of times. I have a great number of clients who are mass affluent individuals. They're not at the top of the realm. They're not at the bottom. They're average folks who have IRAs and pension plans, et cetera. And when I ask them, tell me what your thoughts are about the presidency right now, many of them are saying, I'd vote for anyone but Obama. And there is a sentiment there that President Obama is being blamed for an awful lot of this. In retrospect, did he inherit a situation which he now can say, well, I inherited the mess, it's getting better, or does he have to stop saying that and look back on and look at his own accomplishments?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that he hurt a recovery. This has been the slowest recovery from a severe downturn since the 1930s, and his policies have blocked it. The binge spending, trying to raise taxes, the massive new regulations and rules that are hurting small businesses and hurting capital investment. So that's why he's painting this sort of fantasy economy, an economy built to last. Well, he's had 3 years to do it, and what he has built in terms of wrecking health care and hurting banks and hurting energy production and hurting people who want to get things done, no wonder he wants to build a fantasy economy.
In terms of the kind of shots that the Republicans are taking at each other rather than at President Obama, in my recollection, I have never seen such animosity amongst the Republican candidates towards themselves. Has this really injured fatally the chances of the Republican Party, or not really?
Not fatally. Candidates have gone at each other in the past, but what's different is, one, we had 8,000 debates, so more people saw this than ever before. And with the Internet, you see it in real time in a way you never saw it before. So the animosity, or the rivalry, let's call it, becomes magnified, almost on steroids. But the bottom line is a candidate will emerge from this process one way or the other. And if that candidate does have a Reagan-esque platform, the GOP will win. They will win the support of independents and disaffected Democrats.
I want to switch gear for a moment to the publishing industry, something that you are as expert as anybody in the country, in the world. Is there a recovery? Because the publishing industry for many different publishers became the disaster of all industries other than the financials. Is there a recovery emerging? And if there is, and I sense there is, what does that say about our current economic environment?
What it says is that the economy is finally doing what it should have done in 2009. I compare it to the car on the highway, open highway. We went 20 miles an hour last year. This year we're going to get it up to 40, but we should be going 70, 75 miles an hour. And in the publishing industry, media industry, there is more ferment, positive ferment. We saw it in the magazine last year. It was better than expected. And this year we're also seeing it on the website. Traffic's always been good on the website. At Forbes.com now has a traffic of 29 million unique visitors a month. And but the marketing dollars are starting to flow again. So that is a good sign.
29 million visitors per month at Forbes.com. You know why I'm repeating that number? We have just been invited by Forbes.com to be a contributor, and I'm very grateful for that, Steve. Gary Goldberg Financial Services has a link in now. And
fantastic.
We are thrilled by the relationship, and we also have a back and forth with some of your editors. Mike Ovanian, for example, is a regular on the program. And it's just a wonderful thing that I can say that our pony is hitched to your wagon. And I greatly appreciate your presence here. And I would love to see you stop being an agitator and become a candidate again, personally.
Well, my kids might not agree. I think they had a little trepidation when they saw their inheritance go for bumper stickers and radio ads.
One reminder, our office is based in the Ryan Mansion in Suffern, New York, and I mentioned to you before that Thomas Fortune Ryan's New York City residence in 1901 was on the current locale of Forbes magazine's office building.
That's amazing.
It is on, I think, 12th Street, is it? Or?
And then the name, Ryan's name, is now largely forgotten.
Yes, but I remember it because he built our glorious corporate headquarters, and his wife died upstairs while he was gallivanting about town with the other playboys. Steve, it's a pleasure, and I welcome you back anytime.